basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. The Warriors will move pieces at the trade deadline, and as they are short on money, they will look for good players with not too high salaries, so that these players can help in the rotation. Signing a great center is the Warriors' biggest goal. The Golden State Warriors are reportedly looking to add a backup center ahead of the trade deadline. Although the Golden State Warriors built a successful dynasty, winning 4 NBA championships with superstar point guard Steph Curry, one major theme has haunted them. Of course, the Warriors were able to prevail, but the team has constantly lacked consistent big man play. The Warriors have turned to second-year center Tracy Jackson-Davis this season as their go-to starting five, but their depth remains a significant concern. Golden State has typically leaned on Kevin Looney through the past few years, but it would not be a surprise if the Warriors look to upgrade their backup center position ahead of the trade deadline. Bleacher Report's Jake Fisher reported that the Warriors have been linked to a number of centers across the league, but Toronto Raptors' Kelly Olynyk stands out as a top option. "My eyes are more focused on Golden State looking at backup big man-type players," Fisher said. "They've been linked to Vucevic. Robert Williams is a good name. Kelly Olynyk was someone that the Warriors almost traded for at last year's trade deadline. That was, from my understanding, very close to being done. So Kelly Olynyk is a name I would keep an eye on for Golden State still. Very manageable salary to trade for, right around the mid-level exception." Olynyk, 33, is averaging 6.4 points and 3.6 rebounds through 15 games this season, shooting 44% from deep. While Olynyk is not a game-changer, the Warriors could desperately use some frontcourt help. 3 Warriors who could be sent packing from Golden State before the trade deadline. These guys might not be around much longer. If there's one thing we do know from the last month of Golden State Warriors basketball, it's that Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office will be active ahead of the February 6 trade deadline. Head coach Steve Kerr did suggest on Saturday that the franchise will be patient with the current roster over the coming weeks, but that can be taken with a grain of salt given he said something similar just before the Dennis Schroeder trade. 3 Warriors who could be traded ahead of the deadline. Everyone but Stephen Curry could be in trade talks before the deadline, yet there are some more than others who are on borrowed time given who the Warriors have been linked to acquiring, and what Kerr's rotation has looked like in recent games. Golden State were strongly linked to Chicago Bulls center Nikola Vucevic in a report from The Athletic on Saturday, with the front office unlikely to pursue a major play for 6x All-Star Jimmy Butler. While Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins' tenure with the Warriors may have been strengthened by the report, the writing could be on the wall for a number of veteran players. The multi-year contracts of Kyle Anderson and Buddy Hield may be more difficult to move, but others are on expiring deals that could be sent out in a deal for Vucevic or a different trade target. Let's look at 3 players who may depart the franchise before the trade deadline. Gary Payton II. Gary Payton II is expected to return on Golden State's upcoming 4-game road trip, having missed the last 7 games due to a calf injury. Even when healthy, the defensive-minded guard is averaging just 13.1 minutes, the lowest of his last 4 seasons. The biggest issue is Payton shooting a paltry 15.6% from three-point range, with his complete lack of perimeter threat becoming a major problem for a team that already has enough offensive concerns. Combine these factors with Payton being on a $9.1 million expiring contract, and it's very likely that he is moved, assuming the Warriors do make a trade before the deadline for someone making at least a similar figure. Kevin Looney. Kevin Looney finds himself in a very similar position to Payton, having seen 4 DNPs in the last 6 games as Steve Kerr prefers to go to Tracy Jackson-Davis and some small ball combinations. The 3x champion did have a strong start to the season, but his recent place outside the rotation is only increasing the chances of his departure. Looney is on an $8 million expiring contract, with a combination of he and Payton going a fair way to acquiring a $20 million player like Vucevic. Given both Looney and Payton will become free agents in the offseason, Golden State could look to bring back one or both on smaller deals. Moses Moody. Despite signing a 3-year, $37 million extension just prior to the season, Moses Moody could once again find himself on the trade block before the deadline. The poison pill contract does make things difficult from a trade standpoint, but it's not impossible, and the fact the fourth-year wing is still yet to solidify a consistent rotation role is concerning. One of the more underrated rotation talking points has been Lindy Waters' spot above Moody, despite the latter shooting 39.8% from three-point range in contrast to the former's 33.3%. If the Warriors think they can re-sign Waters on a near-minimum deal in free agency, then perhaps they'd be motivated to move Moody's impending contract if the right deal comes along. Warriors trade target continues to raise value after another eye-catching performance. On the same day, Steve Kerr hinted at needing a shooting big. If the Golden State Warriors are waiting to get a better buyer's price for Chicago Bulls big man Nikola Vucevic, then the value certainly won't be reducing based on the 2x All-Stars form. Vucevic was reported as the most internally discussed Warriors trade target according to The Athletic last week, with the need for a shooting big man seemingly only growing ahead of the February 6 deadline. Nikola Vucevic continues to fire for the Bulls. After Golden State and other rival teams had little interest in the veteran center during the offseason, Vucevic continues to raise his value with another eye-catching performance on Friday amid the trade rumors. Vucevic had 23 points in just 27 minutes as the Bulls blew out Jordan Poole and the Washington Wizards at United Center. The Montenegrin finished an efficient 9 of 12 shooting from the floor and 4 of 6 from three-point range, also adding 13 rebounds and 6 assists while finishing a plus 29 in the 138-105 victory. Vucevic is still averaging 20.3 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 3.3 assists this season, shooting 55.8% from the field and 43.3% from three-point range on nearly 5 attempts per game. There's been significant debate on what the 34-year-old would be worth in a trade, with the hope from a Golden State perspective that they could get away with expiring salaries and second-round draft capital given the Brooklyn Nets' return for Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith. However, Vucevic's form is making that all the more unlikely, not to mention that the Bulls appear far less incentivized to be sellers than the Nets were. The Warriors may have also cost themselves some leverage on Friday when Steve Kerr blatantly stated how nice it was to have a stretch 5 on the floor, having played rookie center Quinton Post for 7 minutes in the 108-96 loss to the Indiana Pacers. The Warriors should certainly be looking to make a move ahead of February's trade deadline, as they have fallen to 19-19 on the season and have slipped to 10th place in the West. Trading for a backup center would not fix all of their problems, but a guy like Olynyk would certainly help. Jimmy Butler wants to leave the Miami Heat and has made that desire public. But engineering a trade exit from South Beach might not be simple for the 35-year-old. Firstly, he has a player option for next season. One he is expected to opt out of in search of a longer-term contract in the summer. Secondly, one cannot ignore Butler's age or the fact that he is constantly unavailable. That is a key reason why the Heat do not want to hand him a max extension even though he is a franchise legend and has taken them to 2 NBA Finals against all odds and expectations. The Golden State Warriors had been linked with Butler quite heavily in recent months. He was viewed as someone who could provide the help that Steph Curry and Draymond Green needed to make another run for the NBA championship. But now, it looks like the Warriors have pulled out of the race to sign Butler. While speaking on Run It Back, Sam Amick said, "They don't have interest in giving him the deal that he's waiting for on the other end, and I don't think they're looking to make him a rental." Of course, it is possible that things could change over the coming weeks as the Warriors continue to struggle. After a fantastic start to the season, which saw them sitting atop the West at one point, the Warriors have now slipped down to 10th. They have a 19-19 record and are on a 7-16 run. That is not ideal, no matter which way you look at it.